Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Well, after that highly entertaining and exercising fantasy land from a no-tax world, good on you, member for Sturt, from the people who left us almost $1 trillion worth of debt, but sure. Let's return to talking about the bill. Deputy Speaker, Boothby was once the home to a thriving Mitsubishi motor plant at Tonsley. For many who grew up in Boothby, the automotive industry was a defining feature of economic life, from 1964 when it opened as Chrysler to 2008 when it closed as Mitsubishi. It was an industrial focus and a major employer for the southern suburbs. And while Mitsubishi may have gone from Boothby, manufacturing, innovation and research and industry continue to thrive. And that's why I'm thrilled to speak today about this bill to establish the National Reconstruction Fund. The Albanese government was elected on a mandate to drive the transformation of Australian industry and revive our ability to make world-class products here in Australia. In fact, the Prime Minister, then in his capacity as Leader of the Opposition, announced our policy for a National Reconstruction Fund back in 2021, because he, and those of us who now sit on this side of the House, could see that opportunities had been wasted for too long. And as we dealt with COVID-19 and all the restrictions, challenges and hardships that came with it, it became blindingly obvious that as a country we're not where we needed to be. As global supply chains ground to a halt and demand for health supplies, electronics and many other items soared, our relative decline in our sovereign capability became obvious. It was clear to anyone paying attention that there was a need to revitalise and rebuild Australian manufacturing as a powerhouse for jobs, as a powerhouse for the economy, and to protect our own supply chains. Seems like a no-brainer. Deputy Speaker, and so we come to the government's $15 billion National Reconstruction Fund. The bill establishes the fund as a new Commonwealth entity. The NRF will provide finance, including loans, guarantees and equity, to drive investments in 7 priority areas of the Australian economy. And these leverage Australia's natural and competitive strengths and support the development of strategically important industries and shore up supply chains. The bill establishes the fund's independent board and outlines the fund's functions and powers, including those relating to investment. And importantly, the bill establishes the power for the responsible ministers, the Ministers for Industry and Finance, to issue an investment mandate to guide the investment strategy of the fund and declare the priority areas of the Australian economy. Now, these priority areas have been identified by the Minister as the following: value add in resources. The fund will aim to expand Australia's mining science technology and ensure a greater share of raw materials extracted are processed domestically. For example, high-purity alumina from red mud in bauxite processing or lithium processing for batteries, which we know will be a key economic resource and growth driver for the decades to come. As a country, we are blessed to have these in-demand minerals, but instead of shipping them offshore to be processed and then buying them back as products at much higher prices, we should be processing them here, so the financial benefit accrues to us, Australians, and the jobs are here for us, Australians. Value add in the agriculture, forestry and fishery sectors. The fund will work to unlock potential and value to add raw materials in sectors like food processing, textiles, clothes and footwear manufacturing. Transport. It will develop capabilities in transport manufacturing and supply chains, including for cars, trains and shipbuilding, to ensure we have efficient, effective transport to power industry. And medical science, and this is a key for Boothby, which is home to both a major hospital and a leading research university, as well as a number of high-tech medical innovators. The fund will work to leverage Australia's world-leading research to provide essential supplies such as medical devices, personal protective equipment, medicines and vaccines. Renewables and low-emission technologies. This is a fantastic opportunity for us to sell to the world It will pursue commercial opportunities from components for wind turbines, production of batteries and solar panels, new livestock feed to reduce methane emissions, and modernising steel and aluminium. Hydrogen electrolysers, and we have the largest hydrogen electrolyser in the country in Tonsley in Boothby. Wow. Innovative packaging solutions to reduce waste. And we need these things for our future here in Australia, but these are going to be in high demand around the world. And this is key to us becoming a renewable energy superpower. Defence capability. As a representative from South Australia, I have seen how many good, well-paying jobs are being driven improving our defence capability, not just directly in defence and in submarine and frigate builds, but as we see in the Tonsley Innovation Precinct, many companies are seeing the opportunity to join the supply chain, even if they've never been part of defence previously. The fund will work to maximise sourcing of requirements from Australian suppliers, employing Australian workers, whether they be technology, infrastructure or skills. And the government has already announced target investment levels for specific priority areas, up to $3 billion for renewables and low-emission technologies, and $1.5 billion for medical manufacturing. $1 billion for value-adding in resources, $1 billion for critical technologies, and $1 billion for advanced manufacturing, and $500 million for the value-adding in agriculture, forestry, fisheries, food and fibre. Deputy Speaker, the National Reconstruction Fund will target projects and investments that help Australia capture new, high-value market opportunities to help our businesses grow and succeed. And this is not just about the economy of today, which is itself vitally important, but the economy of the future. It's about setting Australia up to lead the world in these fields so that we can benefit from the growth that will come from these areas. The fund also includes finance to grow advanced manufacturing and support businesses to innovate and move up the technological ladder. As a co-investment fund, the NRF looks to draw in support from its superannuation, venture capital, private equity sources, bringing in investment to help create high-quality, sustainable industries and jobs. And we know that having locked in 43% emissions reduction target by 2030, this has brought certainty to business and investment and has made Australia a much more attractive investment opportunity. There is opportunity to discuss lessons around targeting investment to support manufacturing capability in our regions to make sure that they benefit from sustainable economic growth as well. And it's modelled on the successful Clean Energy Finance Corporation. This bill establishes the NRF as a corporate Commonwealth entity. Now, important Deputy Speaker, the National Reconstruction Fund will be administered at arm's length to government by an independent board appointed jointly by the Minister for Industry and Science and the Minister for Finance. And the government will provide guidance on expectations and policy priorities through a legislative instrument and an investment mandate, as I've outlined earlier. But to ensure integrity, accountability and value for money, the board will independently make investment decisions and manage its investment portfolio to achieve both the NRF's objectives and a positive portfolio rate of return. Free from political influence, there won't be a colour-coded spreadsheet in sight. There's long been an argument made that government has no role to play picking winners, no role to play guiding industry, no role to play other than establishing guardrails, letting business do its thing, and only stepping in when there's been market failure. But this is not a do-nothing government, as the previous one was, happy to let things float along, see where they end up, taking credit for the wins and disavowing the losses. As the Minister has said, government does have a role to play, making real contributions to our most vital sectors. That's what we're elected for. Australia is rich with valuable critical resources, resources we could have rightly expected to be used to build our manufacturing base, add value, create jobs here in Australia. But for decades we've mined these resources and shipped them off overseas, only for other countries to process and add value to them. And then we import them back at many times the price, sending the manufacturing industry, their profits and the thousands of jobs they create overseas. If we mine it here, we should make it here. Australia's know-how, our scientists, our innovators are among the best in the world. Photovoltaic technology, Solar cells was invented here, but today 87% of the world's cells are made in another country. You can imagine what that means in dollar value. And in the next 3 years, that number will be 94%. If only it was still here in Australia. As the world urgently focuses on decarbonisation, the transition to renewables and low-emission technologies will play a vital role in delivering Australia's emissions reduction target of 43% by 2030 and net zero emissions by 2050. We're well placed to make the most of our technology and our skills. If we invent it here, we should make it here. We've seen what happens when Australia fails to back itself, fails to back our people. They go overseas, they take their experience, their know-how and their passion with them. And we want Australians living overseas to come home. We recognise many of them left Australia seeking support and funding for their ideas, support and funding they just couldn't find at home. We want to empower the NRF to invest in Australia and Australians. Australian know-how, Australian ideas, Australian ingenuity. Both this bill and the mandate guiding investments will make sure the $15 billion fund drives Australia's natural inclination towards innovation. Our focus is on renewing, revitalising, rebuilding Australia's manufacturing industry for Australians, for small business owners, for the regions, for jobs. And so I turn back to the old Mitsubishi Motors factory at Tonsley in Boothby. In 2012, the Wetherill State Labor Government bought the property. The old factory site was turned into an innovation precinct. And 13 years later, there are more people employed on site there than there were during the Mitsubishi car factory days. And it is a world-recognised innovation hub. Tonsley is the home to the sort of modern manufacturing that the National Reconstruction Fund could encourage in the future. Home to companies that are working in clean tech and renewable energy, health, medical devices, assertive technologies, mining and energy services, automation, software and simulation. Home to the Global Centre for Modern Ageing, Sage Automotion, Hydra Consulting, Tesla, Microx and so many more. It's a really exciting place to go and a constant buzz of innovation and growth. Deputy Speaker, this is the way of the future. Australia has so many opportunities to build manufacturing, build jobs for Australians and build industries. The National Reconstruction Fund helps companies and industries prepare for a bright new future. I commend the bill.